not only am I not surprised by the outcome of this past heavyweight matchup yesterday of Andy Ruiz versus Joshua, but also I am more skeptical than ever of Joshua's team. Maybe not him particularly, but his team. And I don't think a lot of people are looking at it from this angle, but I'm going to explain why that's an issue. Now, first, I'm a little bit remiss that I did not really get into it like I should have. I really didn't mention it before. I spoke about Andy Ruiz's skill set previously, but I didn't talk about the chances that he posed. Everyone's talking about this shock factor. Number one, Andy Ruiz is not the first heavyweight to have a physique like that. He's not the first fighter to be built like that and to have that type of a skill set and to be a KO artist. And he also is not a brand new to the scene guy. He's had the skill set he's had for a long time. So not only should fans and other boxing enthusiasts and professionals understand this, but Joshua's team definitely should have understood very clearly that what happened yesterday with the knockout loss that he suffered to Andy Ruiz in the round 6 was something that could happen. That very much could happen. I mean, they spoke on it. They said he was a threat. But the truth of the matter is, they did know. And everybody who really knows boxing knows that could happen. This whole shock stuff makes no sense. First of all, a lot of people weren't even willing to admit that this was a more dangerous fight than the one he had previously set up with Jarrell Miller. I knew that from 21 Jump Street. Andy Ruiz is a power-punching boxer, excellent movement, throws punches and combinations, can be very sharp. When he's on the prowl, he doesn't throw recklessly and wild. He throws with power and precision. So that's why he has a high ratio of getting guys out of there when he has them hurt. Now, going back and doing film study, I haven't been able to do that thoroughly, but I must say it looks a lot more like Joshua truly let his defense down a little bit and didn't really utilize survival techniques well at all. And I'm not really sure why. But all I can say is this. Kudos to Andy Ruiz, because I did expect him to potentially pull off this upset. But the real question that comes to me is why? Because the simple fact is this. What happened in that fight and the willingness to take that fight last minute, short notice fight, because really it put Joshua at a disadvantage. Ruiz was just coming off of a camp. He was just fired up coming off of a camp. So all this did was extend his training and he came in better shape than ever. It's practically the best thing that could have happened to him to be in that situation. So automatically advantage Ruiz in that regard. So this whole short notice fight, make no mistake about it. He was not the one at a disadvantage. But you took it. And you knew his background. You knew his history. You knew the threat he posed. The question you have to run into is, see, everyone's saying this. Oh, well, this is what happens when guys try to milk a super fight. No, it's not just the milking of a super fight. Joshua's team has been running from the super fight with Wilder. The question that you have to ask as a fan is, why is it that we're willing to show that we'll step into the fire and we'll take a knockout loss? We'll take a knockout loss to a dangerous guy who has a skill set that can bring it. We're willing to take that, but we're just not willing to take that from Wilder. Why? Because if you ask me, now, to me that looks like it's personal. Because you basically avoided fighting me. If I'm Wilder, you avoided fighting me for years now. Several times we tried to get this going, and your team just never felt that it was quite right. Then you keep on claiming to extended offers, but they were only half-hearted offers. You were never serious about making a fight with me. You know the fight with me would get you monstrous amounts of money. If you're coming over to the U.S. anyway, why would you still be against fighting me? Yeah, if I'm a KO artist and I pose a high threat, so is Andy Ruiz. I'm more marketable. And you're going to get more money out of it, and you're going to be forgiven easier for losing my knockout to me because I'm the higher profile fighter. So what's the reason for avoiding it? My thing is this. Are they just afraid that the type of knockout that Deontay would put on Joshua would severely hurt his career because it would damage him physically beyond repair? Maybe that's what it is. But it definitely looks personal. It looks like they think that they show bravado by stepping in and by taking a tough fight, and that this just proves it because Andy Ruiz can do this. But to me, it's a little deeper than that. Yeah, it proves that you're willing to fight, but it proves that you're willing to get knocked out by anybody as long as it isn't Wilder. And the question is, why is that the case? This was bound to happen. I'm not super shocked. I watched Ruiz's training camp. She was sharp on the pads. The guy was coming off of a training camp. Everyone talks about in shape. Here's what people don't seem to understand about boxing anymore. This has always been the case. This is nothing new. Every boxer, every pugilist, every combatant has a different level for in shape for them. There are some people whose physiques will just be a certain way when they're in shape. If you watch the way they train, if you watch the way they move, you know when they're in shape for their physique. Andy Ruiz, same thing with Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia didn't come in super jacked and cut up when he came to the weigh-ins to face Errol Spence. So, oh, look at him, he's the punchiest guy, he's the flabbiest champion I've ever seen. No, for his physique, he was very much in shape. And if you watch his training all the way up to the fight, you know that without a doubt. Same thing with Andy Ruiz. The guy just had a camp for 15 weeks, basically. If you saw how he was training, how he was hitting the pads, how he was being conditioned, he was very much in shape. When he came to the weigh-ins, trust me, that's in shape for Andy Ruiz. He was ready to go, and it showed on fight night. Everybody keeps talking about this shock stuff, which doesn't make any sense. There's nothing shocking. That's what he brings to the table when he's motivated. The only criticism that I had before, and I still have now, is, yes, I'm not backing off my comments. Andy Ruiz was among those who, for whatever reason, possessed an extreme skill set but just didn't want any parts of Wilder directly. They would disparage him from a distance, but didn't want any parts of that. Yeah, he poses a threat, but everybody faces the same fear that Joshua does. They have a skill set. Even Miller, dangerous skill set. Ruiz, dangerous skill set. Joshua, I will still say, is a dangerous skill set matchup for Wilder. But they're all too scared of the threat that's posed back at them by Wilder. They feel like, oh man, if I get in there, he's just going to he might just decimate me and just obliviate me. Part of pugilism is you understand that can happen, but you plan on making it happen for you first. If you don't have the toughness or the fortitude for that, then you're in the wrong sport. But I definitely, there's been times as I look at the post-fight interviews and stuff that I sort of get a feeling that Joshua and his team embraced this loss a little too much. And I'm starting to wonder if they just wanted this to be a two-fight situation just to avoid Wilder. I would hate for that to be the truth. I really hope that's not true. But they looked a little too jolly and chummy with the outcome of this fight. There wasn't much protest. There wasn't much shock, which, like I said, Ruiz can do this, but they didn't seem that gutted. It seemed like, oh, well, we'll come back and we got to win the rematch. And Eddie Hearn wants it over in England, but I think Josh was willing to fight back in America again, which is good. Let it be back in New York. Let it be in America. Forget about this nonsense of going back home and all that. Let it be in America. If this is a stalling tactic, it's a dirty one. Meaning you're willing to take a KO loss and lay down for Andy Ruiz to stretch out a two-fight deal with the rematch clause. Come back, do what you need to do in the rematch and get rid of him, which is the plan. And then you're basically, you feel like hopefully by that time, Wilder's tied up with the rematch with Tyson Fury. If that was the game plan, then there's names. First of all, you've now severely hurt the Wilder-Joshua card automatically. because people want to see it much less now. But we'll see what happens. They didn't seem gutted at all, though. They seemed very, very content with the beating that they took, which is very shocking to me.
Mile for raid.
Konnichiwa, back to the center, be gentleman. You know, feeling it in my soul. Hola, konnichiwa, back to the center, be gentleman. You know, feeling it in my soul. Hola, konnichiwa, back to the center, be gentleman. You know, feeling it in my soul. Hola, konnichiwa, back to the middle forever now. We are flowing together now. New music and sound, yeah. Let's get down, yeah. Let's get down, yeah. We go for the crown. We are always holding it down. Poets back to the force, back to it. Of course, you know that I am always here on time. Yeah. Hola, konnichiwa, back to the center, be gentleman.
In the outset, Joshua looked very sharp, and he started turning the tempo up and putting his combinations better. Andy Ruiz was throwing. He was throwing with intentions from the beginning, but Joshua was doing a very good job of slipping, countering, and adjusting. And I'm thinking that the knockout happened early at first. But as time went on, Joshua started really putting together his combinations and really dealing with Ruiz's offense pretty well. And then he knocks Ruiz down. And I'm thinking for a second, wait a second. This, because I had heard prior that Ruiz won by knockout. I saw some video pop up. And I'm thinking to myself, was that a joke video? Because when I saw the surgical way that Joshua started turning on the pressure, and he started getting sharper and sharper, and then eventually knocks Ruiz down with a sharp left hook. I mean, that left hook hurt. Because Ruiz went down like a ton of bricks. He didn't pop up. He was stunned. And I'm thinking, how in the world did Ruiz come back from that? But when you see for yourself, he got back up. And it just seemed like Joshua was changed. It's almost like Joshua felt that was the end of the fight, so he goes in for the kill. And I understand you go in for the kill and you get sloppy and you don't get the knockout, and maybe, Ruiz bounces back a little bit. But there was plenty of opportunity for Joshua to gather himself, compose himself, be a little more defensively sharp, and then work your way back to getting another knockdown or to putting the pressure back on Ruiz again. Just plenty of opportunities to make championship decisions. And he seemed to defer from every single one. He didn't rally at all. This is not a guy who's never been rocked before. This is a tried and tested champion who's been rocked several times in several fights. Even in his win over Dylan White, he was rocked. Heavily rocked. He was rocked in a Klitschko fight. So this is a guy you expect. This is a guy that you figure understands the dynamics of what it takes to adjust. But then I'm looking at it, and he just doesn't seem to get it. And I'm like, why is he doing that? Everything looked really, really sloppy. Almost like he started to just embrace losing. And it's not totally out of question that maybe he did throw this. That they wanted this to be two fights. But the thing now to look for is what's going to happen in the rematch of Wilder versus Luis Ortiz. Because this inspired him even further. And he does pose a threat himself. So, is Wilder going to be able to just take care of Luis Ortiz again this time? This is going to be a real test because the Brazil fight was a waste. This is going to be a real test for Wilder. If the same thing happens to Wilder, things will be very interesting. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm sure this might play a little bit into Deontay's psyche and having him wonder, man, as tough as I am, could this possibly happen to me? It could. It could shake his confidence a little bit. We'll see. But there's a lot of interesting matches to play out yet over the next couple of months. But definitely not a shock in what happened. So stay tuned, and we'll do some more coverage of this as time goes on. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Jokatech podcast. Take care.
We go for the crown, we are always holding it down. Poets back to the force, back to it, of course. I am always here on time.